So this lab you're talking about is the MicGene Lab, right?
We also wanted to work on more of a global problem.
Like, how did you landed upon the composition of ingredients?
So when he saw, he forgot about it, and then he saw the results after 1 month.
So how is your technology different from them?
We never thought we'll be end up in packaging.
So what sort of compliances are involved?
So we requested them. It was a big hurdle to actually.
Were there any cases where a particular batch failed?
So the temperature has to be less than 20 degrees Celsius.
And if you can share me how the supply chain looks like for your products, both backward and forward.
We have our own facility, 300 tons facility.
Great. So hi Tarak, welcome to the podcast, and let's start with your product. What is PeelON?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Dr. Taraka Ramji, CEO and co-founder of PeelON. So PeelON is basically a compostable packaging, so that extends the shelf life of fruits and vegetables up to 3 times. So we basically address the issue of delaying the ripening by ethylene scavenging and the moisture, and also have antimicrobial properties all fit in one single simple solution. So that's what we make.
Perfect. We'll come to the specifics in a moment, and we'll discuss the patents and the technology in detail. But before that, let's go to your journey that has led to PeelON up till now. I also saw that you and Venkat has been associated for quite a long time. Like you
Right.
did 2-3 also startups or something. Some organizations you two started before. So if you can take me through that journey, what all you did and what were the results of those companies.
Right. So initially, we actually met randomly almost 10 years back.
Okay.
In one of the labs where he finished his PhD. I was about to start my PhD. So that's the
Okay.
timeline where before I was moving to Europe. So that's where we met, and our frequencies matched. So our passion was about leveraging our scientific skills and the technology skills we have developed over a period of time to actually work on the real life problems. So that was the idea behind which has actually brought us together. So we were very much passionate, but we still lack of resources, lack of knowledge. How we have to start the business and everything. So that's where we were discussing, and that's where we have noticed that one of the diagnostics and service lab that was going down that time, we actually took over the lab and we were running initially. So our idea was also to have our own laboratory so that we can work on the problems through using our skill sets and develop the solutions from it. So that was the idea behind of getting that diagnostics and service lab.
So this lab you're talking about is the MicGene Lab, right?
That's right.
Right. So I also saw that during that time, I think you went for your postdoc or PhD in Czech,
Yes.
right? So you were operating it on virtually, and I think Venkat was there in physically in.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was on ground. He has been working, taking care of the lab. I was more of a part-time, so where I have to also work on my PhD. So that was in parallel that we have been doing. So we
Right.
continued research. So for the initial cash flows, so we were running the both diagnostics and services business. So to keep up with the cash that will come around.
So it was a pre-existing lab that you acquired, or did you just
pre-existing lab that was rented, and we worked on a profit share model so that we bootstrapped it basically.
Okay.
Even before we knew the term bootstrapping, so we actually bootstrapped it.
Some private company that had that lab or something, because I
Right.
haven't seen especially it is not very common that someone is able to kind of get hold of a lab with equipment or something like that. So what
Right.
was the background of that lab?
So that background, so it's simple. It's just the same. The diagnostics and services, what they do, but the administration was not so great, and they were losing money. So that's one of the reasons why they were about to. They were almost at the bankruptcy stage. So we decided to take over. So we offered them we will do a rental basis. We share the profit with you. So, but over next 3 years, we took over the lab completely. So that's how we managed to rebrand and also took over the lab in next 3 years. So we got all the instruments into our facility. Yeah.
Understood. And just one last thing, how did you came in contact with those people who were the owners of that original lab?
Right. So so that's something through our professors from the bachelor's. So I did my bachelor's in Vizag itself.
Okay.
So I got in touch through them. So they recommended me. But so after my masters, I was just quickly reconnecting with them. So and then I met Ravi at the same time. So that Ravi was working there like a part time initially. So that's that's how we ended up meeting with each other.
Perfect. And so, did you and Venkat met at IISER Kolkata? Like you were where you went to for JRF
No,
for?
no. So I did my masters there in IISER Kolkata.
Okay.
I did
Okay.
not meet him in IISER Kolkata. I met him like after the IISER Kolkata.
Okay. Understood. And also, like in IISER, you spent like 9 months. So, did you then got a PhD offer from Europe, or were you then
I
wanting
spent
to venture out?
3 years in IISER. So
Okay.
2 years for my masters, and then extra 1 more year. I initially was about to start my PhD there,
Okay.
but I moved. I got an opportunity in Europe. So I moved to. Initially, I was in Germany, and then I moved to Czech. I got the
Got it.
opportunity there, so I moved. Based on the opportunity, I've moved to Europe.
Understood. So, can you also briefly touch upon S-Biotech and Translational Research Institute for Molecular Sciences?
Yeah, the TRIMS is basically before the MicGene Labs. So that's the TRIMS, and then we rebranded it to MicGene Labs.
Okay.
Yeah. So after the MicGene Labs, so after a few years, so we were looking for problem statements to work on. So that's where Ravi is the other co-founder, like you are talking about. So he was recently married that time, so his father-in-law was into shrimp business. So he noticed that there's a lot of issues in the shrimps, majorly in the Andhra. So we both are from Andhra region. So
Okay.
Andhra is one of the large exporter of shrimps previously before COVID. So it's a huge like the shrimp businesses that goes around. So he saw common problems there with the shrimp is the viral infections. And also with the
Okay.
growth. Growth is
Okay.
pretty much important. Like the important is to make sure like it's good weight, and then that can be shipped. So that's where he noticed that problem, and then we decided to go back to the lab. So we developed a pre-probiotic solution.
Okay.
It's called synbiotics, basically pre and probiotics together. So we developed a synbiotics for the shrimps, which is preventing the viral infections on one point, and also improving the growth of the shrimps to have a healthy shrimp by the end they harvest. So that really worked with his father-in-law's business. So
Okay.
quickly the word passed around, and then everybody was interested. That's why we decided to spin a business out of it. So we really made we made a decent revenues for quite some time, and then we basically during COVID, so the business has gone down because of the exports problem. So that's where we also wanted to work on a more of a global problem. So that's where PeelON came in.
Yeah. So
I was
my next question was also on that. Like, when did you landed upon PeelON, and why you thought that this is the opportunity, and when you both decided, okay, let's now move this to PeelON.
Right. So we. So I was still in Europe. So I was part of the I was part of the Global Shapers, which is like an umbrella under the umbrella organization of World Economic Forum, where we work. Probably people know about the World Economic Forum. So basically they bring together countries for working on different sets of problems or issues currently we face as a humanity. So one of the problems they have flagged is the waste problem. So the food waste is a big challenge. So we usually used to run also non-profit how we can save the food, and how we can repurpose the extra food that's spread at the retail stores or at different houses, restaurants, etc. So that's where we saw like food waste is a really big problem, you see. So that's where we got excited, and then we started reworking on that problem. So that's where we developed the formulations. So something which we also learned from our previous venture is to be in touch with the customers to have a proper strong feedback. So we send it to the customers, and we noticed. So we give them if they can give us the feedback. So they initially gave us the feedback, and so the feedback was it's increasing the shelf life, but should I have to spray each and every fruits and vegetables? So it's a big challenge. So that's something where we also noticed that typically they use packaging.
Okay.
Like the plastic packing, irrespective of this, like fruits and vegetables, coating or non-coating. So we initially started with the US market, and more than 80% of the fruits and vegetables are actually packed in plastics. So they were packing plastics irrespective of it. So we got the idea, so why not integrating into packaging itself? So instead of coating individual fruits, extra capex, so we could simply make it as a drop-in or replacing the current supply chain, what they have. So that's where we got the idea and we started to work on it. So we initially pretty much developed in a different set of, like, we needed a biopolymer to work on. So we were touching upon like different set of biopolymer that is compatible. We worked on starch, cellulose, and all the different sets of biopolymers. And then finally, so we also have to make sure it is scalable as well. So that's one of the important aspects. So it's not just increase the shelf life, but it has to be affordable, it has to be scalable, and also it has to be functional. So these are the more important criteria always we have on top of our heads before we develop the solution. So that's where we actively worked on this. So we we tried to partner with like already existing bioplastic manufacturers to do our trials with them. So we requested them. It was a big hurdle to actually, since we don't have our own facility to actually do it, but like trying to work with a partner with them and to get the things moving. So we partnered with them, and then we started working. So we saw, like, we were doing some trials, and we saw some films that are going on. So we finalized some films, we took it back to the customers, we took the feedback again, and then we revisited them again. So we streamlined, and then we worked on the films constantly. So it's R&D of almost 2 years, extra 2 years, where we developed the films. Now what we have is the completely compostable, transparent, and then extend the shelf life up to 3 times. So
got it. So this R&D was majorly done within the MicGene Lab, right?
So the formulations were done at the MicGene Lab itself, but so again, like when it comes to film blowing and everything, so that is done at a different partner.
Got it. Understood. So the first film that you developed, like the first pilot stage or the first prototype of the film that you developed were with collaboration with an external biopolymer partner.
Right.
Understood. Okay. So how is PeelON going now? Like what stage it is? How much have you progressed, and what are the operations looking like right now?
Right. So we have already, we initially started as a pilots in US, Central America. So that's where we initially started. And also we started in India. So we scaled our production so that like we can reduce the pricing to be compatible with the Indian market as well. So now we are also in the Indian market.
Okay.
So majorly in the US and Mexico, we do with leafy greens and vegetables. Whereas in India, we pretty much deal with all the kinds of produce. So we initially started with bananas. We started also with pomegranates and grapes, and also different vegetables as well for the quick commerce. So that's something which we have touched upon. And we have seen a great interest from different sets of exporters from India itself, because their major bottleneck is the spoilage. So they're not able to export a lot just because of the spoilage and the shelf life problem. So which we are able to address. And since we made it affordable and good pricing in comparison with the plastic pricing, which they are already working. So we are pretty much in the market now. We are in the commercial stage.
Right. So
and we have our own facility, 300 tons facility in Vizag itself.
Understood. That is a manufacturing facility of the biopolymer itself.
Right. Well, so it's our own facility. Yeah.
Okay. So is it like with it collaboration with the original biopolymer partner you had, or this is like your own full in-house?
It's our own facility. It's our own facility.
Okay. Got it. So I have a question on this, but I'll come to this shortly. Before that, I want to understand, like, what is your primary customers right now? Like, are they distributors or kind of people who kind of supply to mandis and these cities? So because that's the major supply chain that is the time taking stage. So what are your target customer from where the majority of your revenue is currently coming from?
So we majorly work with exporters, distributors, and aggregators. So basically, from the post-harvest till the retail, we work with a different set of customers. So we make the bulk packaging, and we make also the retail packaging as well.
Okay.
Much like catering to from every stakeholder in the produce supply chain. So the majorly we work with the exporters, because the shelf life problems are typically they have major issues in exporting and spoilage, and they need extra shelf life, major shelf life. So that's why we majorly work with the exporters, and we also work with the distributors and aggregators as well, and also at the retail front where they want to pack it nicely to make sure like they have a better lifestyle, better shelf life at the end consumer. So that's pretty much like where we have been like working with a different set of customers.
Right. So are you also looking at the similar model which frozen food industry does, where they blanch the peas and those vegetables and the IQF or the IQP, I don't remember the exact term, but that technology through which they kind of create their own brand and kind of put out the fresh produce in the market in frozen space. But in your case, it can be like the fresh itself. So are you also looking in that space?
Not really, but like, it's actually a good look into it. But again, like it's still, we are a 4-year-old company, so we haven't been exploring like completely.
Right.
But in the packaging itself, so we extended it into flowers as well.
Okay.
We have been trying to work with a different set of companies in Malaysia and Kenya and African market as well, exporting flowers. So that's something ongoing. We have seen great results with the flower market as well. So that is ongoing. Additionally, specifically for the Indian market, we also developed milk packaging. So the milk pouches that we use a lot, like in a typical metro cities, 2 to 3 lakh milk pouches every day. It's a very common practice, and it's made from LDPE. So it has to be like that's a very like a use case for us to actually replace.
Got it.
Majorly, the typical problems we are trying to solve is replacing the plastic. Apart from replacing the plastics, also with the aroma retention and also the plastic smell, what you typically get.
Right.
So we are able to also address these problems in this replacing this LDPE packaging what currently people are using. So we did pilots already. It's ready to be commercial. We are in discussion with different set of companies in India.
Understood. Like also in US, the same thing?
US don't use milk pouches. They typically use Tetra Paks, shelf stable, once the bottles. Milk pouches is very much in India and maybe some in UK, but otherwise it's majorly in India.
Okay. So I saw there are 2 patents. Both are granted. In fact, like one was issued a few days back in the India itself. So, like how are those 2 different? And if you can explain the scientific process of both of the patents.
Right. So our core technology lies in the plant-based additives what we use, which gives the functionality. So the patents here, we use the additives itself and then how they are encapsulated, the technology itself, the process is patented. It's quite novel, and how we encapsulate them, and we worked on the kinetics, and then how we have integrated them into the biopolymer, the co-extrusion itself. So that's a second patent. So that's altogether we have 2 patents. That's both done in India and US as well.
Right. So, but your parent company is based in US, or is it like Indian company and then you did a PCT application in US, or is it the reverse?
Is the other way around. So it's a US based company. So we have it's a US based company, and then we have subsidiary in India.
Got it. Understood. So if you can take me through the process of the kind of the development of the 2 products that you have through the patents, if you take me to the scientific process of those 2 briefly.
So basically, as I mentioned, plant-based metabolites. So initially what we have developed for the coatings, so these are pretty much the same ingredients, but we stabilized this as a matrix, and then it is encapsulated with the polymer matrix. As I mentioned, we have this as a proprietary, so I cannot reveal exact materials. But so what we have encapsulated, so that's without the exact ratios, it's quite unstable. So we really had almost more 2,000 to 3,000 different combinations. So how we have ended up to the most stable combination for the matrix. So once the encapsulation is done, so this is co-extruded with the biopolymer. So the co-extrusion process is basically it's a twin screw co-extrusion where the biopolymer and then this encapsulated material is at a different temperatures. So they are physically got together to form that matrix inside. So that's the co-extrusion process, and then finally what you get it is like a pellets, is a resins, typical to the plastic resins what you get. So this plastic resins are blown into films into different shapes and sizes. So that's like the different process. So our major IP lies in the process, and then how we have integrated into this the co-extrusion. So for this also we have worked on the screw design as well, where basically it's important that how physically they are co-extruded. So that's one of the reasons why we also worked so much on the screw design as well, to make sure it is, since it's a new material, so it's always hard to work with the existing machinery. So we had to redesign and a little bit change for our materials to work on.
Okay. So both of these patents kind of contribute to the film, or was it also or the earlier one was for the coating
Both of
that
them
you did?
contribute to the pellets. So the pellets or resins itself. So from the
Okay.
resins, it's pretty much the common, like everyone can do
Right.
it.
Yeah. Understood. So I also went through the patent. So it's like a quite long process. Like the steps are quite long. So one question I had was like, what kept the motivation keep going on and have like, because it would have required a lot of patience to spend time outside your PhD and postdoc. While you were doing that, you had to do your coursework and you had to do the thesis work as well, and all that research simultaneously.
Both of them finished PhDs. So when we started this company, so we're pretty much like worked only on PeelON, so nothing else.
Understood. Okay. So like, but any particular reason that you ventured, like for example, was this also similar to what kind of PhD work or postdoc work that you guys have done, or
Not
was it
exactly.
completely different?
But the skill sets, like the knowledge, what we have used is actually from our PhD backgrounds.
Okay.
But not exactly. We never thought we'll be end up in packaging, honestly. So that's something which is there. But apart from that, like it's majorly the knowledge what we transferred.
Okay.
And we learned how packaging is something new for both of us.
Understood.
But at the same time, it's also we have learned quickly. So, but we had a strong foundation, so that helped us to learn quickly the current industry and also worked on it. So that's how we ended up in the packaging space.
Right. So I'll dig a bit deeper into the scientific part of the product. So like, what's a silane-modified clay?
So silane is basically it's a coupling agent. So it helps with the surface modifications. So the idea behind using the silane is to make sure it helps with the dispersion and like helping them couple with the biopolymer. So that's the modification. Silane helps in combining completely different types of materials. So that's why silane has been used.
So is it like an enzyme that kind of?
It's not an enzyme. It's basically like it's a so it's made from silica. So it improves the compactity and like I said, like if you're in a very very broad example, so you're trying to mix with oranges. So you want them to be mixed together to get a best combo. So that's where the silane helps with the modification and helps them to combine in a very like layman terms.
Okay. And what is homogenization in your context?
More like it's a uniformity, like to make sure there are no big particles and make sure all particles are at the same sizes to make sure it's uniformly dispersed.
And how does clay help with this? Like why clay and not something else?
So clay helps. It's more of a matrix with respect to the like keeping them. So the temperatures typically what we use go up to 150 to 200 degrees Celsius, which is very high temperatures. The additives what we use are very temperature sensitive. So to make sure it is not you're not burning them. So that's why we use clay to protect it.
Understood. Okay. And I saw you use a very particular type of clay. So like any specific property does that particular clay has? A bento or something like that, it was there?
We use bentonite. Yeah. Not specific. It's more like availability.
Okay. In the Vizag region?
Not Vizag. It's in India.
Okay. And where do you source this clay? Like where it is geographically found and where do you source?
India itself. So we have it. We have from different places. Like Rajasthan and like some in Andhra, there are like a different set of places where we could actually get the clay.
Okay. And how did you landed upon this particular type of clay? Like because or is it like also in the neighboring region of Vizag or something, or did you kind of specifically researched out something that okay, let me see where this is available?
It's more like availability with respect for the distributors. So whoever is like distributing, it's not really again like a type of clay we are specifically looking for that. It's more like availability because it has a wide applications in different sets of industries, like a paint industry and and not just buildings, but also in different sets of industries as well. So that's why, like, based on the availability, so we try to get them, and then we have tested with them.
Understood. So, and next question is like if you can give a brief regarding this, like if it is like confidential, you can kind of leave out the details. But like, how did you landed upon the composition of ingredients, the ratios of the composition of ingredients? If you can give some
It's a
background.
permutation and combination what we have did, and then finally we landed upon that matrix.
Okay, and do you think this ratio that you have landed upon is perfectly optimized, or there is still scope to improvement?
It is perfectly optimized.
Okay, understood.
And anything here and there could actually be unstable. The matrix can be unstable.
All right. So did you did some kind of simulations or kind of data analysis that okay, this is the most stable formation and
Right.
most
So we did that, and then we finalized the formulation.
Okay, understood. And so what all equipment you used, or did you buy any new equipment, or was the equipment which was there in the diagnostic facility was sufficient, or did you kind of bought in new equipment for specifically for PeelON?
Right. So one is like for the mixing and like making the encapsulations. So we have a mixer like that. We bought industrial grade mixers.
Okay.
And also for reducing the particle size. So that's one. And then additionally for making the pellets resins itself, we need a co-extruder, the twin screw extruder. So that is specifically, we designed it for ourselves. It's custom made, what we have done.
Okay.
So that's something which we bought for ourselves. And additionally, for blowing the films, it's a very much common one which people use.
Did you see any Indian suppliers or Indian manufacturers building similar stuff, or was the largely sourced from kind of foreign manufacturers and companies?
So typically, the Indian bioplastic industry has been focused on either carry bags, simple carry bags, or even the apparel bags, or even more like mail bags, so that the ones we use it for the post and everything. So yeah, that has been the focus, strong focus. But our focus has been like very much on the functionality. So we don't want to be the other bioplastic manufacturer, like more of a functionality what we want to give, add on additional things, but rather than as a biodegradable or compostable manufacturer.
So your equipment largely, like one is the custom equipment that you developed in-house, that is right, but like large part of your machinery and the equipment comes from like Germany or
from India.
China, or
it's actually custom made in India itself.
All right. Understood. And so are there also other companies? Like I found there is one company in US called Apeel. So how is your technology different from them? And like, yeah, you can elaborate on that.
Sure. So Apeel is majorly a coating company. They make actually edible coatings, which, I mean, their industry is majorly avocados. So that's where they're strong. But also I think they diversified into also detection of like the fruit quality. So that's a QC they have been working. But otherwise, I think we are pretty much like a different, even though we work on the food waste space, but we are pretty much like a different type of companies.
All right. And like, did you knew about Apeel like before in the earlier days when you were working?
Yeah. They're quite well funded, and like some of the celebrities also invest in this company. So they're quite known in that space. Food waste space.
Understood. So like, what was the reason to still pursue PeelON? Because your earlier product was a similar product in coating. So like, what problem you saw is still unsolved, which you find that, okay, we have to work on it more?
Right. So initially, so the idea was also like, even though they were a coating company, so the feedback what we got is like, it's not so effective for different sets of fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
So that's the feedback what we got. And then that's one of the reasons why we pursued further into coating. And then, we changed eventually into packaging. So that's like also understanding the customer, like, so this is the customer need, but not the coating itself.
Yeah. Understood. And are there similar companies doing stuff like PeelON, this packaging that keeps fruits and vegetables fresh?
No. So we are the only company in the market globally. So we with alternative materials extend the shelf life. So either they are into ethylene absorption or coating, or there are companies working majorly on the compostable, so like a biodegradable materials itself, but not together, like addressing both functionality and also the compostability.
Right. So last question on the patents and the technology, like, are you licensing these patents also, or are you like looking at kind of building?
Currently we're doing in-house. We are not licensing. We are supplying only the resins. So that's something which we are trying to do. Different business model, but otherwise we are just only doing it in house.
All right. And I also you might have seen in the market that farm to fork model is getting much popular because the farmers, so their children have now, they're like between 25 to 35 and they are aware of the technology. People just build their Shopify websites and the children kind of start selling the produce across India. There are a lot of mandi associations and a lot of individual farmers also who are kind of selling this nationally. So are you also planning on taking that market as well, where you can provide the packaging to the farmers directly and they can then do the farm to fork model?
We're still working on the problem statement clearly. So one of the major drawback in India we have is the cold infrastructure. So the cold infrastructure is not so great, and ours packaging doesn't really help when there is a wide fluctuation of temperatures. If it is a minor, yes, we can address it. But if it's a wide range of fluctuation in the temperatures, we will not be able to address. So the temperature has to be less than 20 degrees Celsius to make sure it is stable and gives extra shelf life. So that one of the reasons why we are trying to focus first understanding the problem, so where we can really add the value to the farmers or the distributors or aggregators, anyone to that extent.
Right. So then in that case, the R&D must be going on as well, right? For kind of, are you looking at to kind of expand this variability in temperature, or like
we are working on this in the R&D. So we have one already film which actually extends shelf life let's say we are able to give coriander for 3 to 4 days at room temperature. Okay. So that's a huge win already for us. Right. That's something which we addressed. But additionally, we are also exploring other vegetables and fruits as well.
Perfect. So take me through the lab to market journey. Like if you can share some anecdotes as your TRL level evolved. So if you can share how that evolution was like.
I mean, honestly, it's more, we have been working. So from TRL 4 to 5, so we started already taking the customer feedback. Okay. And then we eventually scrutinized and worked and we came to the TRL 9. So it's not like we came to TRL 9 and then we went to the customers. It's more like once we have the initial first prototype, we already went to the customers to actually take their feedback, and then we developed and fine-tuned the product based on their feedback rather than the other way around.
And if you can share the timelines, like how much time it took to go from 1 to 3 or 4 and then 3 or 4 to 9 or 8.
Right. So we started the project in 2022. So till 2024, we have been working coatings, and then we started initial prototype of the films. So from 23 to 25, so we are already got all this compliances done, and then we are already commercial now in the markets.
Right. So what sort of licenses you need? Because like, for example, if as a layman I see it through, like the packaging is more like the cardboard box or a polythene in which people can carry. So what sort of compliances are involved and how the compliances vary as compared to US and India?
Right. So US typically you need for selling the packaging, so you need a US FDA compliances that needs to be done. Similarly, Europe has EFSA, European Food Safety Association compliances. In India, similarly, we have FSSAI compliances. So that's in broad, what are the compliances we need to sell as a packaging. But for the manufacturing in India, additionally, what we need is since it's a biodegradable compostable, additionally what we need is for having the manufacturing facility, and we need a CIPET confirmation. CIPET is basically they test your packaging and then make sure it is completely biodegradable in less than 6 months. So that's something which we need. Additionally, we need SPCB, pollution board compliances, SPCB state, and also central as well, CPCB license. So these are the mandatory compliances that has to be there in India to sell as a bioplastic.
Understood. And if you can share me how the supply chain looks like for your products, both backward and forward. Like for example, all the raw material and all the things that you source to kind of develop the product, and then after that the supply chain forward, which you have already talked about, but like larger exports. But like let's if you can share regarding that?
Right. So we materials are majorly sourced from India itself. The core biopolymer is we getting it from China. China is the only largest producer of that biopolymer. So we're getting it from China. But otherwise, the other additives and what we have developed, everything is from India itself. So it's locally sourced. And then we make our films, so we make our resins and everything. So in India, so it's pretty much, as I mentioned, we work majorly with the exporters, so we send them directly to the packing houses.
Yeah.
I mean, majorly for banana we have in either in Jalgaon or Timbuni regions in the Maharashtra, or in Andhra, like some parts. So this is the major export clusters. But yeah, depending on the grapes, it can go to Nashik. Nashik is a big in the grape export segment. So that's something which we have already there. Apart from that, if it's a quick commerce companies, so we send it to them Bangalore or Hyderabad, Delhi. So depending on there, we ship the samples directly to them, and then the products they needed. When it comes to US, again, it also goes from India itself. So we manufacture them. So based on the sizes, the sales cycle is typically after the first introduction. So we confirm the sizes. They confirm the sizes. Then the samples, 50, 100 samples for test and understanding of how the film work. And after we go for the paid pilot.
Cool. So if we let's come to again the manufacturing part. What is the hardest part of manufacturing process, and which operational unit was most difficult to scale?
So majorly the additives part and encapsulation is quite after fermentation combination. So we stabilized it. The major challenge we always had is the twin screw. So since I was it's a new material, and then the current market ones are not so much compatible with our material. So we had to redesign the screws to make sure our material is grinded and we get the pellets out of it. So that was the major challenge what we have faced to get. I mean, it's also huge machinery and it comes with a cost.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenge what we had to get the things moving.
All right. And how the process changed? Have the process changed since the patents were filed? Because you might have to make modifications as you scaled up the machinery and moving from bench to production.
Scaling, so we optimized it a little bit, and there is always small changes you always have compared to the patents. But pretty much more on scaling the process rather than the composition itself.
Understood. And the biopolymer that you mentioned that you bring in, so does it come in a liquid form or
pellets? They also come in pellets.
All right. And then you just bind the biopolymer with the composition and the things that you have, and then that's how the film turns out. Understood.
Right, that's right.
And what sort of tolerances you deal with, both chemically and with the ingredients, and then mechanically with the machinery? If you can share tolerances that you deal with day to day.
What kind of tolerances,
as in for example, there might be let's say there might be temperature ranges of a machinery, whether the boiler or whatever temperature you have might not be reaching the center of the whole equipment or the chamber, and then there might be the
typical temperatures are the typical temperatures we use is close to 150 degrees Celsius. As I said, it can go up to 200 degrees Celsius. So that's a typical temperature range what we have been using.
Okay.
For the mixing or the co-extrusion process, that's but there's with respect to the pressure, the screws is for the design itself. So that's a major important. Apart from, I mean, exactly, I don't remember the pressures, but we make sure the mixing is uniform and dispersion is uniform rather than in comparison with the, I mean, to make sure it's uniformly dispersed. And it's melted and mixed properly.
Right. So let me rephrase this question a bit. You must be doing batch testing for all the lots, right? So were there any cases where a particular batch failed, and what was the reason behind that?
Right. So typically the batch fails only when the mixing is not done properly.
Okay.
When both of them, when we try to mix the biopolymer with this, when there is a composition problems or when there is stuck. Sometimes they get stuck in the hopper which what we use. So this kind of problems which we typically have, we see, and the batch fails in that case. So that's something which we try to address now while we customize the machinery. So we have taken consideration all this while designing the machinery itself. So yeah, pretty much we have sorted, and time to time we do have problems. The cleanup is needed. Yeah, the cleanup is compulsory. Like every 2-3 months, we do a cleanup to make sure there is nothing old particles that are stuck, and the screws are intact and everything.
And what if someone has to start this, what would be the basic broad range setup cost to build such a machinery and a facility, like apart from the land and space, but the machinery itself?
So again, it's a very specific people works in this industry, the twin screws or the plastic industry. So there are only few players in the market that are actually designing the screws. So you have to work with them to get the configuration you are looking for.
Okay.
So that's majorly that's what I say. It's not that easy, but at the same time, it's also not that difficult. It's just you have to know what materials you're looking for and what are the things so once you know the materials you're mixing and working with, I think the screw designer they can help you designing the right screws for you.
All right, but is the machinery in double digit crores or something?
No, less than 1 crore.
Okay, less than 1 crore. Okay, understood.
Yeah.
And so what challenges you faced while kind of building the biopolymer machinery or the resin machinery, because that's not something you were doing during your PhD or academics or in the early stage of PeelON. So where did you learn all of that, and what were the moments you would like to associate that were key learning points that made you set up this whole 300 tons facility that you mentioned you have?
Right. So, the major challenge is not the engineering. Major challenge is not because we don't have a background. The major challenge, what you typically face, is the people's problem. Dealing with the tantrums of the people you work with. So once you can overcome that, I think you can build the things. So I know the answer is more technical, but again, that's a harsh reality. So we didn't had problem in designing the machinery, working with them. So it's rather getting their time, working with them. So they always delay. It took us. Things which can be done in 1 month has been delayed for 6 months. So you can imagine that is the problem we typically face. But otherwise, it's not the challenge, because once you really are interested, I think you can always keep learning. Right. So you have the background, and so we kept learning, and then we progressed to build it. It's not something which is not rocket science, as we say, but we still now we are able to even build rockets. But yeah, it's not very difficult to understand, but at the same time, it's not so easy. It's the major challenges what we face is the people's problem. It's to getting their attention and get the things done in time. So that's a major challenge.
So how's your business distributed based upon US and India? Is the larger part coming from US currently?
Currently, it's larger part is coming from India. US is still slowly growing market because of the policies. India has already banned the plastics. US is still yet to move on the EPR strongly. So that is still pending. So that's the reason why people are slow to convert comparatively. But there is also strong interest from the GCC market as well, from Qatar, UAE, and Europe as well. So this was the policies change drive this movement rather than just a simple one is a shelf extension. So that has been driving to a certain extent, but at the same time, when people say, okay, there is no alternative to plastics, so then people would be jumping into the solution since we are the only one in the market.
Right. So then in that case, any particular reason setting the parent company in US versus in India?
Right. So one is also we initially were high price. So one of the reasons why we started in the US market. Additionally, also it gives us more access to the investors. And also a lot of other connections. So that's one of the reasons why we started as it's a global problem. It's not a very India specific problem. And it's a global problem. And typically India uses less plastics compared to other countries in the world. Understood. So that's also one reason why. So the best example I gave you is 80% of the produce is packed in plastics in US, in Europe market. Whereas in India, it's less than 25%. So you can see the market scale there itself.
Right. Got it. So last final few questions, how do you look at PeelON? What's success for you going forward?
So we look at PeelON more on addressing not just the compostability, but give them functionality. that is problems typically they face with the plastics they're currently facing. So that's what where we look, and then we want to address more the total food packaging market. So from the produce till any kind of perishables, including bakery, CPG products, and all this different set of products. So we wanted to address all the packaging needs that can be compostable as well. So that's our when we see in a long run.
Understood. And so what's your personal goal, like the larger vision for life? Because I mean, as you also said earlier, that you weren't looking at kind of doing a packaging business, and no one actually thinks like that, okay, I'll one day do a packaging business. But like, so what's your larger vision for your personal aspect of the life?
I mean, for me, it's more of I leverage my skill sets, and then keep learning, and then develop solution for the real world problems. So that's more of my personal goal on a personal note. But otherwise, it's just, I mean, like what we see is that, like we have to be impactful and solve the real problem and make sure it is affordable as well.
All right, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you so much.
Yeah.
Had a great time. I hope you also enjoyed the conversation, and I'm
Right,
sure
yeah.
people will get to know a lot of insights, especially the builders program that we have recently launched, where I mean the idea is to support grassroots level kind of engineers and researchers who can kind of develop products and enter the manufacturing, and where we can build a larger manufacturing ecosystem in India rather than relying on an external factors. So thanks for joining in.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for taking